All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Reva Ramadorai. I'm the director of the Thermo Fisher Scientific Junior Innovators Challenge, and I'm here with my colleague, Gabby Feckman. And we're responsible for the Thermo Fisher JIC program. You will receive tons of emails from us throughout the application process. A nomination to the Thermo Fisher JIC is a huge honor. We are super glad that you've taken the next step in the process by opening your application.
Today, we are going to give you an overview of the Thermo Fisher JIC program, and then we'll take some questions. This session is being recorded so that other students who cannot join us today can also hear this information. We want to show you that the application is a really fun process, and just by submitting one, you have the chance to win prizes. We are always here to answer your questions. Email jic@societyforscience.org at any time. And as a reminder, we are here to help you. There's no such thing as a dumb question, and the judges don't see your questions, so don't worry about impressing us.
If you have any questions during today's webinar, feel free to chat them in the live chat box on the right-hand side of the screen, and Gabby and I will answer questions at the end. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation. All right. So Thermo Fisher JIC is a program of the Society for Science, which is the organization that Gabby and I work for. The Society is a nonprofit dedicated to expanding scientific literacy, effective STEM education, and scientific research. The Society's vision is to promote the understanding and appreciation of science and the vital role it plays in human advancement, to inform, educate, and inspire. The Society does this by hosting science competitions and publishing Science News, an award-winning flagship magazine with the most important science news from all fields and applications of science and technology. Science News Explores is the Society's award-winning publication dedicated to students, parents, and teachers, used by nearly 4 million visitors each year.
In addition to Thermo Fisher JIC, the Society runs 2 high school STEM competitions: Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, which is the world's largest international high school science competition, and the Regeneron Science Talent Search, which is the nation's oldest and most prestigious STEM competition for high school seniors. Thermo Fisher JIC is made possible by our friends and sponsor, Thermo Fisher Scientific. Thermo Fisher is committed to nurturing generations of STEM professionals that more fully reflect our society and embrace their diverse perspectives and ideas to fuel innovation, advance science, and solve the world's most complex problems. Now let's talk about the competition. Thermo Fisher JIC is the premier national STEM research competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. From 2011 to 2022, the competition was known as the Broadcom Masters, but Thermo Fisher Scientific is our new sponsor. If you were familiar with the competition before, nothing about the core competition or process has changed, just the sponsor. The first part of the competition consists of a written application where you tell us all about your research project. In the application, you'll also be asked to describe your hobbies and interests and respond to a few creative essays. Judges then review all of this information to ultimately select the 30 finalists that participate in the second part of the competition, Finals Week. You'll learn more about that in just a bit.
All right, so how do I become a 2023 Thermo Fisher JIC finalist? So the first thing you have to do in order to be considered for the competition is to complete a science or engineering project. You must then enter your project into a society affiliated science and engineering fair, and you can check if there's an affiliated fair near you by searching the website find a fair at .societyforscience.org. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you've already been nominated and already both completed your science and engineering project and competed at a society affiliated fair, so great start. Now the next step is to receive a Thermo Fisher JIC nomination by placing in the top 10% of projects at your fair, which again, if you've already done so, congratulations. The next big step is to complete and submit the online application by June 14th, 2023 at 8 p.m. EST. If you have not already opened an application, you can do so by going to thermofisherjic.smapply.org. Once you've applied, you are in the running to become one of the top 300 junior innovators. From those top 300, the judges select the 30 finalists. These 30 finalists are invited to compete in finals week of the competition in Washington, D.C. During finals week, finalists showcase their research projects and compete as teams in hands-on STEM activities.
So what does it mean to be a nominee? Being nominated to apply for the Thermo Fisher JIC is an honor in and of itself. Being a nominee means that you participated in a society-affiliated science fair and were selected as one of the top 10%. The fairs receive a suggested rubric for judging projects and selecting nominees, and you made the cut. As a nominee, your fair should have sent you a certificate and digital packet full of information about the program and how to apply. In it, you will find the official rules, parent permission form, nominee packet, and a materials checklist. If you did not receive this, please email us at jic@societyforscience.org and we'll send you the link.
All right. So the first stage of the competition is the entrance stage. So to be considered for the Thermo Fisher JIC, a nominee must complete and submit an online application, which again is due on June 14th. The application asks about your project, your interests, and your critical thinking skills. The application might seem overwhelming, but we have tons of resources to help you. We have created videos to walk you through each section of the application, which you can find on our YouTube channel and in the resources tab of the application. Know that you can always email us at jic@societyforscience.org with any questions you might have. We strongly encourage you to open your application and submit early. Your project is fresh in your mind after competing at your science fair, so it's a great idea to open the application and start working on part 3, the project essays, right after you are nominated. Also, you can always continue editing your application even after you submit until the deadline on June 14th.
Submitting your application is a huge step. We know the application does require some work, and you are sharing your awesome research projects with us that you've worked so hard to accomplish. To award you for that, all entrants receive a free t-shirt and are automatically entered to win prizes like a Kindle. Lastly, all entrants join our alumni network. Our alumni are invited to attend special events hosted by the Society and receive other cool opportunities where you can meet peers who share your interests in STEM all across the country. Our top 300 junior innovators are selected by our evaluators and announced on September 6th. Both top 300 and their teachers win awards. Teachers receive a 1-year subscription to Science News. Top 300 junior innovators win a special prize package, including a $125 cash prize, courtesy of our partnership with DoD STEM, a subscription to Science News, and a subscription to Wolfram Alpha Notebook Edition.
All right. So the next stage is the finalist stage. So from the top 300 junior innovators, 30 finalists are selected by our judges for an all-expenses-paid trip to Washington, D.C. to present their research and compete in a series of hands-on team challenges. Finalists this year will be announced on September 20th, and finals week will be held at the end of October. This is a great time to also mention that the entirety of the Thermo Fisher JIC is absolutely free to students. There's no cost to submit an application, and if you're selected as a finalist, there's absolutely no cost for a finalist and their parent or guardian to come to Washington, D.C. for finals week. All travel, accommodations, food, everything that you'll need here will be completely covered. So some of the awards that students can win after making it to the finalist level. Students each win $500 if you're named a finalist, and $1,000 are given to finalist schools. You can also have the chance to win an iPad, and most importantly, make new friends and build a network of fellow STEM enthusiasts. In this slide, you'll see the full list of top awards that you have a chance at winning once you make it to finals week. We also have awards to attend STEM summer camps, brand awards ranging from $10,000 to our first place award, the Thermo Fisher Scientific Ascend Award of $25,000. So lots of cool things that you can win just by being a finalist. So now a little bit more about finals week. We've mentioned it a lot during this presentation, and you might be wondering, what exactly is this week about? So there are two main components to judging during finals week. First, students will present their research project to judges in a closed session. This may feel a little different from your local science fair judging experience. Since the judges will already have read your applications, they'll probably ask you more specific questions. So though that can seem intimidating, it actually most often feels like a conversation and can be a lot of fun. You'll also have the chance to showcase your research to the public and practice your science communication skills. The public project showcase is not judged. I will say we've also in the past couple of years, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, have done our public day or this project showcase a little bit differently. We've had an online version that is available to really anyone who visits our site. So a lot of great ways and chances to showcase your science or engineering project through finals week. After project judging, finalists compete in teams on various STEM challenges that you work together creatively to problem solve. So these are hands-on activities, and they can be challenging, but also really fun. So here you'll see some pictures of past challenges where the students were at the Smithsonian Environmental Research Center in Edgewater, Maryland. In these challenges, our judges are looking not only at your leadership skills, but your ability to be an effective team member, how well-rounded you are in your STEM knowledge, and your creative thinking. So after the judges have made their observations, both on your research project and through these team challenges, they select finalists for each award that we went through on the last slide. So a little bit more about finals week. There are lots of other cool things that finalists experience. Finalists have the chance to connect with older alumni and learn about different academic paths and careers. As we said earlier, you'll meet 29 other like-minded peers who are all very passionate about STEM. And we hear each year a lot from finalists who still stay in contact and remain friends even years after the finals week experience. So ultimately, we want everyone who enters the Thermo Fisher JIC to feel proud, confident, and encouraged to submit their application. Just by completing the application, or rather just completing the application, is an incredible learning opportunity, and it really helps you practice communicating your ideas for the future. You all have done such amazing work to make it this far, and we hope that you continue by opening and submitting your application this year. All nominees make us so proud through your perseverance and eagerness to change the world through STEM. So we hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the competition. So now we're going to take some questions. You can enter in any questions you have in the chat. Sorry, we know it was disabled a little earlier in the webinar, but it should be active now. So if you have any questions, go ahead and submit them through the chat. We'll wait a few minutes for questions to come through, and then we'll start answering. Oh, and as a note, you might have to refresh your screen to see that you can now submit questions in the chat. So go ahead and refresh your video if you don't see the chat function available. To start things off, Gabby and I are going to go through a couple frequently asked questions that we usually get. Again, definitely type in the chat if you have any questions about your application or about the competition overall. If you don't want to ask a question now or you think of one later, you can always email us at jic@societyforscience.org and we'll definitely get back to you. One question that we often get is from members of team projects and wondering how to submit an application. So basically, if you're a member of a team projects are eligible in teams of up to 3, but each member of that team must submit their own individual application. So all parts of the application need to be completed individually by each member of the team that was nominated in order to be considered for the competition. This also means that though you might have participated and done your research together, that only one person or 2 people, just a part of the team, makes it to either the top 300 stage or the finalist level stage. It is an individual competition and the judges are ultimately going to be looking at you as an individual, if you make it to finals week as a finalist. So that's why each member of a team project has to submit their own application. Okay, so it looks like some questions are coming through, which is great. I'm going to take this first question about, looks like a question about being nominated from the state fair versus a regional fair. And so a lot of states have both a state fair that's affiliated with the Thermo Fisher JIC and a regional fair. And it doesn't actually matter which fair a student is earning a nomination from. So the judges and evaluators don't see this information. It doesn't really weigh in the evaluation of your project at all. We just have different fairs that, multiple fairs are affiliated with the society. And so there are just multiple opportunities for students to earn that nomination. But as long as you've earned a nomination at either the regional or state fair, that is your foot in the door to open and complete an application. We do ask for that information in your application. That's just for us on our internal end of things to know that you came from one of our affiliated fairs. Another great question about making changes to a project after earning a nomination. So yes, we know that the application is obviously open for a long time. Some students have already competed in their fairs in the last few weeks, even as early as January. So you might be doing some more work on your project up until the application is due in June. So if you're doing anything else on your project, what we do allow in the application is additional data. So if you're conducting more trials, if you're doing more tests, if you have like an engineering project, tests of your application or your device, you can include that additional data and the analysis around it in your application. What we do not allow is any changes to your project. So if you're changing, actively changing your experimental variables, or you've made a big adaptation on your engineering prototype. Those changes shouldn't be incorporated into your application. We want the application to focus really on the project that earned you the nomination this year. So great question. So another question about the application, and this refers to a question that's in section 3, which focuses on your project, and it's the student is asking just about the question that asks for your scientific hypothesis or engineering design criteria. So this is just asking two different ways, really. If you're focusing on a scientific project, you probably had a hypothesis when you were starting your research project, and so just stating what that hypothesis was. The rest of the questions are going to look at how you answered it. There's questions that ask about your methodology, so you can kind of describe step by step how you answered your hypothesis, what steps you took to figure out the question that you were asking. Same thing for your engineering design. So this first question is really just asking, what was it that you were looking at? What did you think would happen after asking a certain question? So in this whole section for project 3, if you haven't opened it already, part 3 of the application, if you haven't opened it already, you'll see that it's the series of questions are really just trying to break down your research project in small chunks. So we hope that makes it a little bit easier to tackle. It might kind of translate more to your science fair poster board if you've done one this year, or slides, or any other kind of materials that you've created for your local fair. All right, another great question. I'm submitting the same project that I presented at my regional fair, which is great. That is what you should be doing. We, again, don't want projects that weren't nominated at the fair. But can you change your project title? Yes, you can definitely change your project title if you want to in the application. So no problem there. All right, if any more questions, feel free to type them in the chat. And again, if you don't think of any questions right now, or all your questions have been answered, you can always email us at jic@societyforscience.org, and we'll get back to you. We mentioned this in the webinar, but if you go to the resources tab in your application, or just on our YouTube channel here, you will see that there are tons of videos walking you through each step of the application. That might be a good resource if you think of something after this webinar to find your answers. We'll wait just another minute to see if there are any more questions coming through. All right, we'll answer these last couple questions that just came through. So questions about your actual science or engineering project, we can answer. That if you have questions about how to conduct research projects or best practices for your particular field, I recommend talking to your middle school science teacher as a start. They're a great resource. You can email us at jic@societyforscience.org if you're looking for scientific paperwork questions, rules questions, that kind of thing. But anything that's more focused on the content of your project, we are unfortunately not able to answer. It also really just depends on what kind of research you're doing, what your project was, what the question you're asking, that sort of thing. And then this just a note. Yes, sometimes we get spellings wrong in emails that we're sending out. I do apologize for that. We get the data from other sources. So if it's misspelled in the email, you can email us to correct it. We'll definitely fix it for you. But after you complete the application and submit it, we'll use that information, what you're providing to us, later on if you're selected as a top 300 junior innovator or as a finalist. So know that you'll have the chance to make sure everything is presented as it should be, and on our website and materials as you make it to later stages of the competition. All right, so with that, I think we'll end our webinar for today. If you have questions, like I mentioned, you can see the slide for some resources that we've talked about throughout this webinar. Our nominees page on our website, resources pages in the application, and again, our email is listed here. Really quick, I'll answer this last question about project categories. If you open the application, there's actually a document that you'll find in part 3 of the application that that lists out all the different project categories that we have and a short description to help you choose. So with that, thank you all for watching, and we will see you at the next webinar. Good luck on your applications, everyone.